Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode from the Rangers Journal Scouting Department. Wee bit of a kind of half and half video, I would say, for this one. So we are going to be looking at 5 players tonight who Danny Rohl will know either from his time managing or coaching in the same league or having the player in his teams he has coached himself. And the kind of other half is all 5 of these players are out of contract, I believe, in the summer. So kind of follows on a wee bit from our kind of out of contract 5-part series we've just put out recently. I'm joined once again by Stephen. Stephen, how are we, pal?
Good, mate, good. Yourself, mate?
Hi, all good, mate. No complaints. Barry football I need to watch every week.
That is.
Oh, fuck. Listen, we could make us better, mate, I'm sure of it. So, as I said, 5 players been in either leagues Danny Rohl's coached in or been in Danny Rohl's teams. First up is a man I'm sure a lot of people will be familiar with, Ozan Kabak. Most people probably know him from his time at Liverpool. He's currently playing for Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga. Centre back, €5 million value, and again contract up in the summer. Me and Stephen were just talking, for the people watching, his stats for 2023-24 are involved because last season he suffered a cruciate ligament tear in his knee while playing for Turkey, and actually only really returned this season to Hoffenheim, kind of the first team anyway. He's only made 5 starts this season, 4 of them, all 5 off the bench, and the most he's actually played so far is a half while he recovers from a serious injury. So from 2 seasons ago, we have 28 games played. He started all 28. He scored 4 goals. He assisted 1. Defensive duels, we had 6.9 per game, and he won 65.6%. We averaged 4.7 aerial duels per game and won 59.6%. Clearances 3.6. Interceptions 5.6 per game. We had 11.2 recoveries. Progressive runs 0.7. We averaged 46.9 passes, 4.7 long passes, and 7.1 progressive passes. Accuracies kind of vary. Passes 8.5, long passes 52.7, and progressive passes 78.2. So, Stephen, as we were talking about a man who people will be familiar with, but is en route back from quite a serious injury, but probably a player without that we probably would be nowhere near. What would your thoughts be, mate, if this was an avenue we were to explore?
Aye, mate, it's an interesting one. Obviously, like you said, most people probably know him really for his time at Liverpool, which didn't go his way, really, let's be honest. So probably a lot of doubters out there in terms of how well he would succeed. But obviously, knowing what he's done previous to his time in Liverpool and as a young player, there's certainly an interest there, in whether he could step up and make that jump again and back across the water. So for me, when you look at he's just back, like you said, just coming back for a serious injury. So that's another one ticked off the list for Rangers. That's a go-to for an injury signing. But aye, for me, mate, obviously you look at his stats as well for the couple of seasons ago and his time at Hoffenheim. A wee bit of a mixed bag, like you said, in terms of his passing, but still pretty good numbers for centre back in terms of his passes and progressive passes, both obviously high 70, high 80% for the two of them. Again, in a league where he's probably going to see a lot of the ball if he was to come in. You want him to be comfortable playing those passes, so obviously good numbers there. Looking at his duels defensively, 65% won defensive duels and obviously just under 60% aerial duels. In a league that's probably quite physical as well, so it's a decent average probably for somebody who coming in to be looking at. You can see he obviously be able to handle himself, 6'2", comfortable on the ball, mate, and his percentiles when you look at his defensive actions and his defensive duels are still quite high, in the 70s and the 80s. So I would definitely be somebody who's an interesting look, mate. Whether we go from, obviously, like you said, I don't think he's somebody that we would ever get near if he didn't have this cruciate injury and was coming out his contract in the summer. But if the option's there, mate, it's definitely maybe one way to have a look at.
I think the injury is going to scare people, but obviously he's going to have 6 months kind of left at Hoffenheim, whether he signs a contract with them in January or signs a contract with somebody else in January, or it kind of one of them it lingers on into the summer. Who knows? But he'll just be probably wanting to play some games, get his fitness back, and obviously we have seen there's a player in there, and he's only 25. I wouldn't say Cruciate's bad, but at 25, obviously his best years are probably still ahead of him, so he'll be hoping he can put it to one side, and again he's a full international, so I think it would be an interesting one. I think the only thing we discussed just before we come on was what kind of wages is he going to demand, especially for us who have a pretty strict, a fairly strict wage structure, I would say, and there's probably the guys at the top. Is he, say our top's maybe 40 grand a week or whatever, is that something he's going to be interested in, would be my only qualm.
Well, definitely. I don't imagine he's on mega money at Hoffenheim, but probably still their average is probably about our top end. I mean, so I definitely one that you'd maybe need to, if it was to come about, you'd need to look at the wages, I'd assume.
Aye, an interesting one, mate, especially with our need for centre halves, and obviously it's just come out. And what is it, today or yesterday, that they're expecting Giga, who's obviously been a bomb scare anyway, he's going to be going to AFCON, so that's another centre half down to kind of before we even get to January. So
Bit of a boost for January, that.
but it is obviously a market we are going to be needing multiple bodies in. So obviously, if you can get them on low cut fees, Bosmans, I think it's as we've kind of said in our series, for most of those guys, it's a kind of wise road to hopefully be going down. So we'll move on from Ozan Kabak. Our next player, again, Bundesliga, is probably no surprise. Luca Netz, he is a left back and plays for Mönchengladbach. He is 22. Market value currently €6 million, 6 feet tall. And then these stats are for this season. So he's played 8 games, started 4. We've had no goals, 1 assists. Passes 30.7 per game, and with accuracy of 79.1%. He averaged 2.7 long passes. Accuracy is 35.7%. Progressive passes is 6. Accuracy is 51.6%. Crosses 1.6. Accuracy of 50%. Progressive run 0.6. Dribbles 0.4. Defensive duels 69.2%. Aerial duels at 75%. 1. Interceptions is 2.5 per game. 2.7 clearances per game, and we average 6 recoveries per game. Stephen, I'll bring you in, mate. Obviously, maybe it doesn't paint the best picture this season so far, but as a product, I think, of Gladbach's academy, and at 22 years of age, there obviously must have been a player in there to kind of get him where he is. What's your thoughts on Luca Netz, mate?
I agree, mate. I think, obviously, like you said, at the age he is only 22, there's still room to improve. I think people think as soon as you hit 21, 22, that's you should be at your elite. You've still got probably 5-6 years before he hits his best sort of form, if he can progress naturally. Obviously, again, for me, mate, one that's you probably don't get anywhere near if his contract's not up in the summer. I don't think you ever look at Netz as somebody that would come here out with that. I think you would probably be priced out of it. So I think it's again another interesting one. He's, again, like you said, the numbers are no the most appealing, but there's still some good things in there. Like he's obviously his passing accuracy per game. So again, you're gonna at 80% going to be able to control the ball and be comfortable in possession. Progressive passes maybe also a lot lower at 50, but it's still a decent number for trying to get us forward. And then a big one obviously is for me crosses at 50% accuracy, which is massive. Obviously, it doesn't look like he puts in a lot of crosses, but the accuracy of the ones he's obviously putting in is good, mate. So something that we could obviously work with defensively for a left back, 70% or just under 70% defensive duels, 75% aerial duels. That's massive for me. Particularly at left back for us, we've struggled for how long. It's for somebody who can handle himself defensively. So those numbers for me, when you look at also the charts on the right, 75, his defensive duels won percentage and the percent he was up at 75 aerial duels. He's the top for aerial duels in the league currently. So somebody who looks obviously at 6 foot left back, big physical boy, be able to handle the league, I think. Defensively, if not maybe offering that same attacking option that we've maybe been used to the last couple of years.
I'd agree, mate. I just had a wee half look. So he played 25 Bundesliga games last season, in one German Cup game. So obviously, don't know if there's been injuries going on or it's they've signed a left back, or obviously with the contract situation, he's not getting as much game time. I know Gladbach particularly haven't started great. They actually went out the cup last night to St. Pauli as well. And I also did say he was a Gladbach Academy graduate. That's wrong. He is a Hertha Berlin Academy graduate. So, but I think I agree, mate. I think if we wouldn't have been here if with the contract situation, and obviously he might not be interested in coming to Rangers or coming to Scotland, or he might seek a new challenge. I think obviously there is a player in there, and his next move will be an important one to either move his career on to the kind of next level, and we'll kind of see what happens with that. But he would be one I'd be interested in, as you said. I think defensively looks relatively sound, and I think there probably is more to come if he joined a kind of good attacking side to see what he could do going forward.
Definitely agree, mate. Like you said, Gladbach are sitting 12th now in an 18-team league, so they're not exactly, don't look like they're the attacking threat that you would hope that we would be, obviously, going forward. I know we're not flying now, but obviously going forward, that's an area that you want to be progressing in. So, like you said, mate, there might be more to come on the attacking side, but defensively, mate, it's a decent sort of set point for him, I think, for me.
Would agree, mate. And obviously we only have one left back at the club, so, and he's a loanee, so as we've said with the centre halves, it is another market that we're going to be in for multiple bodies. Could make a whole lot of sense, and we'll see what comes. So we'll leave looking at. We'll move on. Next up is a man Danilo has actually coached. Another left back. It is Max Lowe. Can also play left centre back as well as left back. 28 English, 2.2 million value. Still at Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, that's as much of a shit show as, well, probably even a bigger shit show than we are, with what's kind of happening off the pitch for them, especially. He's 17 games this season, 0 goals, 0 assists. Defensive duels 7.1, winning 59.4%. Aerial duels 3.9, winning 54.2%. 2.5 clearances per game, interceptions 5.4. Recoveries 11.7, progressive runs 1, passes 44.9, and 79.3% accuracy. Passes 5.9 with a 37.3% accuracy. Progressive passes 9.4 with a 62.9% accuracy. Just before I do bring in Stephen, I think it probably is important if we're talking about this season in Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, they've forgetting the kind of off field stuff with like Chansiri and the point deductions and all that. They currently only have 15, 16 players who have been asked to play 3 times a week. So I think it's credit to Max Lowe and the kind of rest of the boys for the efforts they're putting in. I've saw a wee bit of them this season, and they've won some points they probably shouldn't have won. So, but it will be hard for players to go again constantly.
I know, I agree there, mate, on that point. Obviously, it bodes well for him as a sort of professional, offering his sale and staying at the club and getting everything that he's got for them, despite obviously the issues that they're having. But it probably does take its toll on them eventually. Again, though, mate, obviously defensively, we'll go there first. Again, 59.4% defensive duels, 59.4 defensive duels, 54.2 aerial duels. It's obviously a wee bit less, but again, still for a left back, probably doesn't face as many aerial challenges as in the Championship. The numbers might not obviously relate to up here so straight away, but I think that's definitely numbers you can work on. I like the interceptions and recoveries at 5.4 and 11.7. Obviously, very good numbers there for a left back, mate. Obviously, gets himself about and puts the work in. And then again, mate, passing 79% is a high number for a left back looking to try and control the game on that side for us. Somebody obviously, like you said, that is well known to Danny Rohl for his time at Sheffield Wednesday. It might be an option to bring him in, mate. Obviously, particularly with the state Sheffield Wednesday are in at the now and the contract situation with him. It might be somebody that we maybe even try and get in the January window for maybe a bit of a lesser fee. But again, mate, you look at the right hand side. His defensive action, successful defensive actions, defensive duels, his percentiles are very high. Even progressive passes, although his numbers are no massive, it's still high percentiles for sort of that defensive player. So, another one, mate, who the fact also that he's worked with Rohl in the past might actually work in our favour. Could potentially look at bringing him in. Again, like you said, left backs in there that were short in, so he could come in and help out in that situation.
I'd agree, mate. I was actually going to point out how high he's kind of on a chart his duels and defensive actions per 90 minutes. Well, before you said it, the only other things I looked at was nearly 12 recoveries a game and 9.4 progressive passes per game. So I think kind of wee bits you could take away and go, well, he could do a job for us, because again, we're going to probably need multiple left backs. And we're not saying he's going to come in and be a Rangers starting left back, but if he's in a group of 2-3 guys that can play left back, he can also fill in at centre half. You're doing a back three. It could be a very sensible kind of squad option for us to have. Experience in the league as well. He had a loan at Aberdeen as well, didn't he? Am I saying that right? Many moons ago. So Max Lowe is the only one with a direct Danny Rohl coaching link. Our final two players again are from the Bundesliga. Our next player is from Stuttgart, and it's Silas. He is our right winger. He's from the Congo, 27 years of age, 6'2", and this season we played 16 games, started 10 goals. I actually don't see there, but at 0.62, I imagine he's got a couple, around a couple. 0 assists, XG is 0.43, goal conversion is 25%, expected assists is 1.3, touches in the opposition box is 5.8 per game. We average 2.5 shots per game, with 40% of those being on target. Dribbles 2.6 per game, progressive runs 2.7 per game, offensive duels 11.7 per game. So again, a guy that probably isn't shy in throwing himself about and getting involved in a more dirty side of the game. He wins 0.7 fouls per game. He averages 30 passes, 80.9% accuracy, 2.1 crosses per game, 23.5% accuracy. We have 2.7 passes to the penalty box, 40.9% accuracy, and 4.1 recoveries, 1.7 interceptions per game. So Stephen, a big right winger for us here, and with the news recently that Oliver Antman is now set to miss at least 13 games with a hip injury. It's probably another market again that we're going to need to be looking at.
No, definitely. Obviously, like you said, it's a position we're now probably going to be light in. It's a position again for me until last season with Cherny that we hadn't really filled over the last few years. Obviously, Cherny came in, played really well, but again, once he's away back to his parent club and now at Besiktas, we've now replaced that, and the goals that he's offered. Obviously, again, there's some good numbers in here for him, and it was only a few years ago, mate, that he obviously came onto the scene in the Bundesliga for Stuttgart, and he was absolutely flying. For me, mate, probably he's maybe tailed off a wee bit because you probably if he carried on that trajectory, the trajectory probably doesn't come in here again. But with the sort of contract situation he's got going on, you would imagine that again it's another interesting one to be looking at conversion rate, particularly for me when you look at his goals and that on the chart and the top. His percentile rate is obviously right at the top for the league. Goal conversion 25%, which is a massive conversion rate. 2.5 shots per game, 2.6 dribbles, 2.7 progressive runs, 11.7 offensive duels, like you said, mate, all strong offensive numbers here, pointing to a player who definitely would look to sort of command games for us on that right hand side and get us into the box and hopefully look to get us going in the penalty area. And again, recoveries and interceptions at 1.7 is maybe a bit less, but recoveries at 4.1, he obviously puts a shift in on that right hand side of the pitch. And for me, mate, a right winger at 6'2", he's obviously a big physical boy, somebody that would probably suit the sort of profile of the league. You're not going to see him getting bullied off the full-backs or even centre-backs probably if he is coming into the box. So definitely mate, somebody who you would look at and probably be interested in the numbers that he's producing so far, to maybe bring in the summer or even again at a cut price in January.
I'd agree, mate. I think I was actually trying to Google and find out how many goals he scored this season, but I actually cannot seem to find it anywhere. So I do apologise, but obviously looking at his chart, he's obviously must be, as of when we took this data, a top scorer in the league, or for wingers anyway, top scoring winger in the league. Obviously, I don't imagine he's got Harry Kane numbers, but I like the kind of look, very forward thinking, wanting to be in the box, wanting to score goals, wanting to take shots, wanting to pass the ball into the box. Going backwards, I don't think when they phase me too much. I think maybe in years gone by when you'd kind of Tavernier at peak his powers, having a right midfielder that could do a bit of a job going backwards to let Tav go and do his thing would have been a kind of a thing you'd looked at, but with Tav probably going to be leaving the club, you're going to have to start finding goals for other areas of the pitch, which we're already struggling with. Looking at the sports scene graphic comparing Dessers, Zagaman and Cherny to Chermy to Miofsky and Antman was really upset me, to be honest. So again, a guy, as you said, we wouldn't have a sniff at without a contract situation, but obviously with Danny Rohl and his time in Germany, you're wondering, are these guys, does he know people, and these guys, could he reach out to them and offer them a wee bit of something different?
definitely, mate. Sorry, just to pick up on them, you've obviously looking at his stats, and I've just noticed it's 24-25. That's why we're struggling to find his stats. That's where we went wrong. So he's not actually played this season. These are stats for last season when he was at
On loan,
he
Red
was
Star.
on loan at Red Star. So 24 games played in total, 16 in the league, 5 goals in the league, 7 goals in total. Obviously, again, no, the number, the stats are there. They don't lie. They're obviously good numbers still. For somebody out in a probably maybe even a more physical league again than the Bundesliga. So, I know again, mate, an interesting one for me.
And obviously, Red Star, similar to Scotland, front runners every year. Big team, have a big derby game as well. So a lot of kind of similarities in that sense. And if he's not playing at Stuttgart, then there probably has a good chance you could get him in January at a kind of cut price deal. I don't imagine them just keeping the holiday for another 6 months for the sake of it. So that could be a very interesting kind of signing, if indeed, especially with Ant-Man going out. I thought we needed another right winger anyway, but with him going down, I mean, we could probably say this for every position in the park, probably bar a middle of the pitch for now, but you need to be going and getting players. And we just need to see what Danny Rohl prioritises in January, because I think it's obvious to say that we're not going to tick every box this window. And obviously the defence is probably one you're going that really needs serious work, but then we obviously can't fucking score a goal either.
Oh, definitely agree, mate. Just looking at it, he actually has been out with an ankle injury. That's why he's not played this season. So,
a lot of moving parts with Mr. Silas, I must say.
Definitely, mate.
On that note, we'll ditch him. Final player has actually been linked to the club, I'm sure, in the last couple of years. Jonas Wind, Danish striker. He's Wolfsburg. Contract is up in the summer. I did look at him. I'm sure he is or was. I don't know if he's at Wolfsburg this season or he's on loan or this is from a loan. I need to double check. But from 24-25, I'll let you do some digging. He played 33 games but only started 12. 9 goals from 12 starts, actually quite good. 3 assists, XG 6.57, so overperforming on XG. Expected assist 3.39, so kind of there or thereabouts for what you'd expect. Goal conversion 25.7%, 2.7 touches per game. We only average 1.5 shots per game. Going to imagine that's due to limited minutes. But 37.2% of his shots were on target, 1.2 dribbles per game, 0.2 progressive runs, 7.5 offensive duels per game, winning 1.6 fouls. 21.6 passes per game, 76.8% accuracy, 3 recoveries per game, and 1.7 interceptions per game. And again, Stephen, 6'3", so a big boy. I can't remember the exact window, but I'm sure there was rumours on Twitter. He might have still been in Denmark that we were having a wee look. So, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, definitely one that, again, 26. I actually thought Jonas Wind was a bit older. Without having looked into him, but again, a big physical striker who realistically, with the transfer market value that you're looking at, is it somebody that we would actually look at and come in, especially after the summer signings there with the money we've spent. But obviously, again, contract situation kind of makes it a wee bit easier for us potentially. Numbers obviously, like you said, 9 goals last season and 12 starts is a decent return. 3 assists obviously, so gets involved in that's again the goal conversion 25.7%, which is a very good number. He's obviously one for me who probably looks a wee bit more like a target man than a sort of bring the ball in and link up play. He obviously he's got a decent back in the pass, and I can say it's 76% per game, but only the 21 passes, so he's obviously no getting involved in the build-up play as much as as probably we've looked at previously, but still, mate, somebody who potentially you look at just for the number side in terms of goals. You can like look at the pie chart on the right hand side again. His goal conversion rate is very high, but and as much as he's not obviously as involved in the game as he's linked up obviously with the 21.6 passes, his number of passes and his accurate passes in terms of when he does play it obviously is a decent number as well. So I just had a wee look there when you were talking about him. He's again somebody who he's been in and out a wee bit this season. He's again currently injured. I think he picked up an injury at the end of last season and missed pre-season. So he's just kind of back and he's got a slight calf injury by the looks of it. So somebody who you maybe look at is maybe be more one for the summer. But I again, like you said, mate, in terms of numbers for goals and expected goals, he's obviously overachieved last year. So, I mate, again, an interesting one for me. One I don't think we would probably get anywhere near if it wasn't for the sort of contract situation. But one again to keep an eye on.
Spot on, mate. I feel as if I've been chasing my tail this whole episode, but I had a wee look. He signed for Wolfsburg in 2021-22. He actually hasn't been on loan anywhere, so these are stats for being at Wolfsburg last season. Obviously came through Copenhagen, played for Copenhagen, signed for Wolfsburg. That's been his career so far. So, I agree, mate. Six, I think again a big boy, but obviously seems to do well with the kind of chances he gets. Obviously, if he came to us, you'd imagine he'd be starting every week. But goal conversion, obviously goals and assists on the chart aren't they great, but goal conversion, successful dribbles, headed goals as well, all kind of high in the percentiles for having kind of limited starts and limited starts. He obviously come on a bit off the bench a lot, but having limited starts. And as you said, I looked, he's only kind of took part in 8 games this season, coming back from injuries. But I think anytime you mention Rangers and injury, people are going to get a feel. But I think these players are, if they were fit and firing and maybe even had a year or 18 months left in their contract, they'd be players who'd be out of your market. So I think it's be players you'd be kind of worth taking a risk on. When you think of him, you think of Kabak. If you could kind of land one or two of them, they could be good basis for your team going forward next season or the last 6 months of this season, hopefully.
I definitely agree, mate. Aye, like you said, contract situation probably helps with these players. Otherwise, again, you probably don't really get a sniff with a few of them. But if the opportunity's there, mate, and you don't go asking the question, you'll never know, will you? So I would definitely be interested in a few of them. For me, particularly Kabak, and Nets. I like the look of Nets, and obviously the numbers here for Winder are decent enough for last season. So I mate, it's definitely a couple of interesting players on this one on the right show, mate.
I agree, mate. I agree. Obviously, these were players who, when we were kind of gathering the free agents were in it, and we just thought something a wee bit different. Kind of obviously playing in Germany while Rohl was there, or being at Sheffield Wednesday with Danny Rohl as well. But that is the end. That is Player 5 dusted. That brings an end to tonight's episode. Just before we do wrap up, I'm actually unsure when this goes out, but I have seen there's a lot of clamour on Twitter, questions about us looking closer to home. A lot of mentions of, obviously, with the out of contract stuff. David Watson at Kilmarnock, there is a kind of Scottish-based player, Scottish nationality, out of contract video in the pipeline that will be coming out. And as a wee sneak preview, David Watson is involved in that video. He's somebody who is quite popular in the chat, I must say. So for the ones watching, that is something that will be appearing very, very soon as we approach the January window. So Stephen, just like to thank you for joining us again, mate. Another good video done and dusted.
No, again, mate, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, folks, we'll wrap it up there and we'll see you again for the next one. And always remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.